So today, I'm hoping to start a new series on some of these impossible buildings from our past. Ones that deserve to be looked at with a little bit more scrutiny. We just look at these grand structures and we think they've always been there. And I apologize, I haven't made a video in a while. I've been trying to get more consistent to post about a weekly video where we go dig in deep to some of these subjects covered in some of my other channels. Dig in a little deep and question a little everything. Because there is indeed so much topics to cover and so much depth in this realm of ours. But I wanted to do a whole video on just all the grand structures from Chicago, and particularly. It's considered a little hometown of mine. Grew up around that area for several years. And this one building here from 1927, the Bendini. It was built, like I said, 1927, in between a Great Recession and a Great Depression, which occurred in 1929. It was completed in a little over 18 months. And a quote from one of the articles I read about it said they built them fast back then. Certainly did. Considering the construction time for the OldWorld Trade Center, took just short of 8 years to complete. And of course, you can say OSHA and what have you. People were just not on their TikToks and not on their phones as much. Sure. See, all my friends, the construction workers, who work 12-hour days and many 6 days a week, just on their phones at the construction site, not working hard. But of course, it's not their fault. We build these primitive glass boxes now. They are only artists confined with the tools that are given. But the Medina, built in 18 months. Why these towers were here long before they tell us. Just like Chicago, or Chilaga, as it used to be known, was here long before they tell us. And many old maps, which is just a little bit of secrets left of the old age, still printed on their pages. You can see many representations of Chilaga, right at the spot where modern-day Chicago is. Now, they just, of course, were guessing, I suppose. Heavily detailed maps going down where apparently the Great Lakes used to be, adding once again more to the whole worldwide apocalyptic scenario that caused waters and mud to flood and bury a lot of these buildings. But as you can see, Chilaga used to be represented on a lot of maps. These old maps have a beautiful detail for, we're told, of primitive people. Again here, looks like the lakes are just forming in this map. Somewhat different than what we've been accustomed to knowing of. And I'm sure, here on, you can find once again Chilaga. However, that is no mistake. The name is not just a funny coincidence, I'm sure. The mainstream would like us to believe. Here's another one right here, predominantly Chilaga, right around where Chicago is in present time. Just a coincidence. And just a coincidence, these structures also look very worn and weathered for being very new construction. But back to the amazing structure at hand. Some of the details of this amazing structure that only took 18 months. In a time of primarily horse and buggy, the automobile was still just getting on the scene. They decided to put a decorative docking station for blimps, and I like this beautiful blimp here in the background. I never knew, growing up in the Chicago area for well over 20 years, that, you know, blimps visited the skyline as much as I found out here the last year or so, looking back at some of these pictures. But they say this picture here was a new construction picture, or relatively after construction. And of course, this blimp docking station was never actually used because of, you know, the whole public opinion changing rapidly after the Hindenburg. And oh wow, everybody decided that was just such a silly idea. I think the Hindenburg was just one of the false flags of the day. They restrict the freedom and movement of the people of this realm, the ability to learn and uncover truths. You can't go to those scary places they tell you about that's going on in the world, when you have to buy a plane ticket and go through customs, go to airports. But imagine personal little dockable blimps dotting all across the sky, traveling in luxury high above the clouds. But back to this Medina Athletic Club. They say it cost $8 million to build this building. 1927 money. That's almost 200 billion in today's times. And for that, they say you got a 2-story boxing arena. Get a But nonetheless, let's see what that $8 million in 1927, or sorry, looks like this one says $7 million. Well, nevertheless, let's see what that $7 million gets you. 23rd floor miniature golf course, complete with water hazards, shooting range, billiard hall, they spared no expense, track, gymnasium, bowling alley, 2-story boxing arena. Well, that's disappointing to hear. Junior Olympic-sized swimming pool. I mean, if you're going to go all out, complete with a decorative blimp docking port no one would ever use, why not go for the full size? I suppose all those fun things and things of necessity take up quite a lot of space in this beautiful building. And this is, they say, 1929. A mere 2 years after construction. Does this photo really look like a building that's 2 years old? I mean, even this one. Both of them just look almost so faked. And I mean, you just can't get over enough the detail of the cameras and what they were able to pick up and apparently not able to pick up. Almost 100 years ago. Let's see if I got a closer picture of this. And again, this, they say, is just a few short years after construction. And right here, anybody that says this is a new building, this has been here for quite a while. And this is the remnants of the Tartarian civilization. I mean, just look at the wearing and these sculptures. They call these ones the Guardians. I've walked underneath those quite a few times, and they are kind of eerie but very impressive, especially to hear that they did that all in 18 months time. I have another set right here. And this very interesting carving. And it's not just the outside of this building that's impressive. And of course, some of the amenities I've mentioned are also quite impressive. But it's what's the inside. I mean, they truly spared no expense and time. See if this article goes into detail. I mean, just look at this pool. I mean, to try and have somebody complete just this room in a single building that was already there in 18 months today would be next to impossible. And this, 18 months, and they were able to produce such exquisite ballrooms, bowling alleys. I mean, the list was on and on and on. Another, perhaps, sketching of it in 1929, looking very established. And this one, 1930, and again, just look at this building. This is nowhere near 3 years old. 100 years old, maybe, at least. Just look at the wearing and the weathering. And the blimp almost looks like photoshopped right on in there. The weathering, this is not a 3-year-old building. Not even close. And of course, just the skyline here all around it looking very, very interesting. I'd like to touch base on a lot of these buildings. It's not just the Medina with an impressive 18-month construction time. No, they say the Empire State Building in New York was also a building that they could rapidly throw up, and apparently in competitions with the Medina of some sort, so it took them only 12 months to complete that. I guess as Chicagoans were slightly lazier back then. And of course, the funny thing was that this building just never really served too much of its purpose, as they built this behemoth right in the middle of a Great Recession, and then once the Depression hit, they say people that would drop $7-8 million on a building of this caliber, they were just not very good with money and went belly up shortly after. And it went to various subleases and owners throughout the years, where it's now the International Mag-Mile Hotel in Chicago that it is today. But just on the surface, taking a look at one building in Chicago, the Medina Athletic Club, you can start to tell that the narrative and the actual proof of the narrative is so flimsy at best. But we were not asked those questions in school. We were not presented with pictures and statistics of this caliber, of this build time. Perhaps when we were kids we would have asked more questions then. No. We just saw a couple glimpses of Chicago old-time roaring 20s back then and just moved right along with our lives. But the architect of the Medina Athletic Club, surely, I mean, somebody who would build and design and plan and orchestrate such build times. I like that very free energy design column here. You'd think he would have quite a storied reputation as well. And see if we can find some information on the architect of this magnificent athletic club. Walter W. Alschlager. It's good to meet you, Walter. Let's see what we can find out about good old Walter. Oh, this perhaps page isn't loading. No? Okay. Well, Detroit, he designed Detroit Towers, Theater in New York, Savin Hotel, list of impressive buildings, no doubt. The Peabody Hotel, of course, being one of those that stand out to me. No, Walter really did get around here, leaving quite a legacy, but Seems that perhaps at least this site didn't really give him much credit. Let's see what else we can find out about good old Walt. Chicago gets World Apparel Mart. Walter Auschlager Inc. Another very impressive feat of construction there, Walter. It doesn't look like we have much details on you. Seems like perhaps a old company filing of them. But where is the information on Walter himself? Surely there must be more than this. Used to seeing much more about the park down the street on Wikipedia usually than apparently a famous architect like Walter here. So he was born in 1887, died in 1965. Located in Chicago for many years, at least 18 months. He's got a census record and a list of buildings, and that's about it. So we are to believe that this one guy with such a list of storied achievements, I mean, I could go on talking about Walter apparently by his resume for probably about another 30 seconds, but we'll move on here. So we got nothing on the architect of this building. Okay, sure. How about construction pictures? Surely an impressive structure going up so quickly with pictures that can be taken with such quality would have some kind of pictures of the construction. Well, seems promising. So I suppose they can take plenty of pictures of it right afterwards. Another impressive building. Wonder if our elusive architect Walter had something to do with that. Well, apparently. Oh. Tribune Tower. Sure. Sure, that's a construction picture of that, but... Oh, I guess, you know, they were quite busy people back then, building structures of this caliber in only 18 months. Maybe they just didn't have the time to think about taking a picture of them doing it for previous... or for future generations wanting to see how. Oh, wait. Perhaps we can find one? I would even be happy with one. Some sketches, apparently. Well, nothing sketchy at all about that, I suppose. No construction pictures. Very little to go on with the architect of this magnificent building. I like how they, in this modern version of it here, how it looks today, they removed the airship mooring. No use for it, apparently. The decoration was past its use. Looks like this seems almost facade faked from the gold copper dome they say it was originally. It's funny how in this picture of it in current days seems even less worn than it is here. And again, we are to be led to believe this picture is here a few years after construction. Well, I believe that we are not going to find any construction pictures of this Medina, though. Let's see if we can continue searching. I don't just believe Google, or... Well, perhaps this is... No. Let's see what DuckDuckGo has to say. Perhaps the less restrictive and controlled DuckDuckGo will help us out here. Though I all know about DuckDuckGo as well. But perhaps they will satisfy some of our questioning here. Beautiful inside. I would even settle for some pictures of the work on this inside. Such beautiful, well done columns, and they say each floor represents a different time period, a different art period, and you'd think you would love to document some of this process. But apparently that's not going to be the case. A picture of it here. Upon bleached white skies. Airship mooring still intact, but it is looking like DuckDuckGo will provide us no pictures. Google will not either. So we have no construction pictures of this magnificent building that only took 18 months. We have about a half a paragraph of information on its architect, and just a whole list of improbabilities, including an 18-month construction time that, by today's standard, is just not even close to being able to be replicated. Not to even discuss on the detail and quality of the artwork on the outside, even let alone the inside. But we are just supposed to accept this narrative and not ask any further questions, because that's how we have been brought up in society. And I think that's a good part to leave on for the night. I hope to do more videos on not just Chicago, but some more of these structures in particularly, and some of their impossible stories behind them, and kind of dig in deeper to them. And I hope to be doing these videos with more frequency here, now that I have my computer situation a little bit more squared away. And I appreciate all of your guys' support over the time. All the comments, the likes, and the shares. They do mean a very good deal to me. And let me know what you guys want to see in future videos. Any particular buildings that you've heard of in this storied past of ours that you'd like me to kind of dig into a little bit further. I would love to read up even more on what you guys are interested in as well. As you know, this is a group effort here. We must collaborate together to learn the true history of this realm. Because the controllers and their stories are far from its true origins and natures of this beautiful place we live on, friends.